Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing an early 2000s Roger Dubuis Sympathie Chronograph. This is sort of the crossroads between the early years of the company and the later years leading up to the 2008 Richemont buyout. So the watch incorporates elements from both eras, including the original Sympathie case and aesthetic preferences of Roger Dubuis himself, and also the scale preferences and the bombast that came with founding partner Carlos Diaz's gradual takeover of all operations. So this watch is rose gold, 46 millimeters in diameter. It's not as thick as you'd think, at 13 millimeters thick, but it is broad. 54.7 millimeters from lug to lug, with a 27 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now, on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, it's a little bit too big for me. I think you need, and I'll zoom out a bit so you can verify, but I think you need a wrist of 17 centimeters circumference or larger to wear this watch well. And I think that's just common sense. Being as broad as it is going to look awkward if your wrist is tiny. Now, getting a little bit closer, you can see that the watch features a massive strap. It is a Roger Dubuis factory unit. It is calfskin on the bottom. It is large rectangular scale gaiter on the top, semi-gloss monotone stitch, a sheer side showing the layers of construction. And then you can see that it's held to the case using a combination of screws and bars, which is the right way to build a big, expensive watch. That's more secure than a spring bar, a little bit more expensive to fabricate, but you don't pinch pennies with this type of a watch. Now, taking a look at the clasp, you could see that it includes a combination of satin finish and polish, and it is a good-looking piece. You'll also see the maker's mark of Roger Dubuis, because by this point, Roger Dubuis was making its own cases and clasps. You can also appreciate that the case is complex. This is the original Sympathie, one of two model lines launched when the company debuted back in 1995. The other was the more conventional round-cased Homage. Now you can see this is a second series Sympathie because it has the round bezel, round dial, and round inner crystal, but externally it's still shaped like the original. We have polished lug hoods, vertically satinated lug sides. You can see the flanks of the case are also satinated vertically. Case back and bezel are mirror polished. You can see that the case features a bezel top that is all polished, and then we have chronograph pushers that are polished on their outer face, but on their shoulders and their edges they're satinated. We have the RD logo on the crown, and then we have a lightly cambered sapphire giving way to a black dial base. Now, it's a matte black to resist glare. It's got a little bit of a sporty look because everything's oversized. The hands are gold, and you can see that they are lightly loomed. We'll do a quick loom shot. This, along with the size of the case, is where the influence of Carlos Diaz is most obvious. So at 46 millimeters, this is definitely new school Roger Dubuis. And then you can see the track for the seconds and the minutes, as well as the font used for the 12 and the 6. That would be the Roger Dubuis that would continue into the Richemont era. You can see that the sub-registers are slightly recessed. It is an easy watch to read, so no complaints there. And when you turn it all over, by the way, note it says Bulletin d'Observatoire. We'll talk about what that means in a moment when we get to the movement. This is number 24 of 28. In general, Roger Dubuis watches back then were made in series of 28, 88, 888, and there's usually an addition number on the reverse side. The movement at this point was made in-house by Roger Dubuis, but it was based on the Lemania 2310. So that's the same movement which, under a different guise and different level of finish, went to the moon as the Omega 321. And of course, it's the same movement that powered, among others, the Patek Philippe 5070. So we are in good company here. Now, Bulletin d'Observatoire, we mentioned it. It is a French Besançon observatory chronometer, so not a COSC chronometer. This is a test as a fully cased-up watch done at the observatory in France, very old school. We also have Geneva hallmark. You can see it on the base plate as well as on the half bridge for the balance. So this is a very high standard of finish. The movement would have been built and finished and regulated in-house by Dubuis. Manual wind, 48-hour power reserve, beating at 18,000 vibrations per hour. It's a 21 joule movement adjusted in 5 positions, and it uses an overcoil hairspring with a Geneva-style stud holder that's black polished. It is a column wheel lateral clutch chrono, and you can see in Geneva tradition, the column wheel has been capped. A lot of finishing elements on watches have historical roots. Côte de Genève removed the milling marks on bridges and plates. Beveling on the edge of bridges would prevent pieces from being broken off that could intrude into the movement. If tools came in contact with the sharp edge of a bridge, you could create a fragment that could damage the watch's operating condition. With beveling, it was much harder to break off a piece by accidental contact. And with a capped column wheel, you had a way of keeping the lever horns from popping out of the column wheel under conditions of extreme shock. So that's why capped column wheels exist. And you can see this caliber 56, as it's known in RD nomenclature. Roger Dubuis number 56, that's how they describe this movement. The bridges are brass coated in rhodium, and the chronograph components are actually stainless steel, and you can see they are satinated on their tops and they're beveled on their edge. Not easy to do on brass, harder still on stainless steel, and all of this 30 meters water resistant. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.